Welcome in, everyone. Hope you guys are doing good and having a great day. If you're not, please let me know what I could do to help you. Till then, we have a very, very interesting topic to talk about tonight. As you can see from all the tabs I have here, we're just going to take a quick look at all of these different sieges and battles and stuff. But I want to touch a little bit on the history of the Crusades because, well, just here in this video, there is a kind of a notion, something that we've been taught since forever ago that we've been growing up. Excuse me, that the Crusades was something that was unprovoked coming from the Christians, right? Since there is a narrative today that Christians are inherently evil, which look, there are quite a few out there that are, right. We all know um the Hillsboro, right, the Hillsboro Baptist Church, right, how they were doing what they were doing. um we understand that. However, this was something actually different, and I have had my own debates with one of my college professors back when I was in college over this because, well, there was quite a bit of things that was very inaccurate, and there were a lot of information. There was a lot of information that he just didn't really touch on. Interesting enough. So, we're gonna take a look into that today. Actually, here, give me just a second, guys. Give me just a second here. Be right back. All right. Thanks for waiting, guys. Appreciate that. I'll go ahead and turn my camera back on just here in a second. Let's see. All right. Hey, what's going on, Nico? How you doing, man? Back in the seventh grade, this was interesting. Oh, the Crusades itself. Yeah. I really enjoy talking about history. It's something that I've always really enjoyed researching was not just medieval life, but ancient life as well. So I've really had a pretty keen interest in researching this stuff. So you know, you eventually come across some really interesting information the more you research. And the thing is that you don't really find the actual research until you start doing it on your own, right? But that's a part of developing the interest, right? The hunger for knowledge. Because as we know, you know, we're constantly fed slop anyways. So you really have to do some really deep digging in order to find the actual information. But thanks to independent people on YouTube, X, all that stuff, it is a lot easier to find than what it used to be, right? Back in the day, you used to search the web, anywhere and everywhere just to find the actual information, and that's no longer the case anymore, and thankfully that's not. But it's still frustrating to talk with other people about because of this, the narrative. Anyways, so the Crusades, right? We were always told that the Christians were the aggressors, right? That there was no cause for it, and that it was such dark history and time, or it was such a dark point in time, right? However, well, when you do some more digging, right? Um, well, that's when you come to find out some interesting things. Now, the thing is that there's a reason this 600 AD is here. And I really do agree with Pax Tube here because the Crusades, yeah, yeah, they are, man. They're always crazy. It's a pretty big game. Anyways, so the actual Crusades, began around this time, anyways, because Islam started to spring up. And this is a map that I wanted to show you. This is from Circa. Trying to find. Here we go. So this is from Circa here, and this is early Christendom. Okay, this is early Christendom. If it would load. Okay, maybe. Nope. All right. Okay. So, anyways, we'll see. I don't know if you guys can see that here, but I'm just gonna start listing stuff up. So, you have Cyprus, Egypt, obviously Jerusalem. You have all of this control over here. Armenia, they early Christendom had control over. So you had all of this area, okay, that was essentially, oh, Assyria as well. And no, that's not Syria. The fuck am I talking about? Anyways, you had all of this stuff that was under control of Christendom, okay? Which means either people were being converted or they were being forced to being converted, which is exactly what people were doing, right? That's always been a thing for hundreds of years, and I'm not excusing that, by the way, but this is exactly what yeah, this is exactly the control that early Christendom had. Okay, now this is 600 AD. Okay, that's why that 600 is there. Now you look at this, very, very, very different. This goes all the way up to from 622 to 750. Okay, so there was an expansion here. I believe this is the uh, okay. So this is expansion under Muhammad. Okay, now mind you, when the time of Muhammad, he had started, what was it? It was like 80 something wars in 10 years. Okay, so he was a warlord. He absolutely was a warlord. And that didn't stop with just him and his followers. It continued, obviously, because you can see everything continuing and expanding all the way into Spain. Okay, right? That's that's Europe. That's Europe territory. Okay, Spain was a very, very heavily populated Christian territory. Okay, um, well, I mean, pretty much all of Europe at the time was, but quite a bit in South Asian Minor. But let's go and list some countries here. Okay, so obviously you had the the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, you had Armenia, Ethiopia, Persia. Then you also had Syria. You also had um, Bulgaria. Um, I believe there were quite a few more. I don't understand why it's not listing more than that. Um, Antioch, Alexandria, Rome, Constantinople. Obviously the Byzantine. Um, you had a lot of this. You had a lot of other things, and so um, what began to happen was, as the conquest, right, began from the early 600s, that began to ramp up to where we could see now, right? So this is why I wanted to show you some maps here, because before, right, this all of this was under Christian control, right? Now, obviously, you can see here, this is the Byzantine Empire right here. Okay, now you can absolutely say that the Byzantine Empire was in decline, or at least I believe so around this time. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But there was a major conflict because there was an Islamic aggression. Okay, so what they would do is they would essentially do the same thing. Okay, this is a pattern with humanity for since we could learn how to make tools. Okay, this was a pattern for humanity, as any other animal, of course, but with us especially, since we have such a complex way of thought, of course. But so there was a very aggressive, expansion. What they would do is they would capture, loot, murder, of course, and then they would also force to convert people. They would implement the jizya tax, all kinds of things, right? And so what they did was they would eventually capture Armenia, Ethiopia, Persia. They would go on to capture all of Assyria, all of these other, all of these Arabia, all of these other, all of these other countries, right? Until they came to, I believe, um, Nicaea, or maybe no. I'm sorry. No. But it was before then. I'm sorry. Um, let's see. I believe it was the siege on Constantinople that started everything, because Pope Urban II had sent a very, very urgent request for reinforcements from the invasion coming, um, from the Seljuk Turks, right? So, um, resulting in the capture of Jerusalem. Okay, yeah. So that was the first crusade, right? Um, essentially, from what I remember, that all of this was kicked off. Let's see. Um, the feared Turks overran Asia Minor, because they did, and began to threaten even the capital of, yes, constant. Yeah, there was an invasion force by the Seljuk Turks coming to siege Constantinople, and that is when Pope Urban II had sent a very urgent request for reinforcements. Um, to was it Pope Gregory? I can't remember exactly. But I do know that there were a lot of volunteer fighters, right? There were a lot of volunteer fighters. The reason why this didn't happen, let's say 400 years prior, is because there was this idea, and there's still this idea in Christianity, that it's not okay to kill, right? Um, so that's what's going through these people's heads at that time. However, they enlisted in the number of thousands, hundreds of thousands, I believe. Um, so it says 50,000 here. Let's see. To liberate, right, the Holy Sepulchre, Jerusalem, right, where the Messiah, right, the Christians' Messiah, said to have been, laid to rest. So, or at least that's what I come to understand. Um, so I could be wrong on that, but um, I haven't really looked a whole lot into the Holy Sepulchre so much. But as far as I understand it, I do believe that's the resting place of um, the Messiah. Anyways, so they came to liberate, right, Jerusalem in 1095, and that's what really kicked off. Well, I mean, not really, but that's officially when it started, right? Because that's when two major powers began to collide. And from 1095, it wasn't really over until I'm seeing either 1270 or 1291, with an incursion, I think, into Egypt that failed. Um, let's see. Okay, maybe I was thinking about something else. But there was or it might be on this page here. Oh no no. Oh, Acre. Sorry. Sorry. The siege of Acre. Okay, that was the last stronghold um of the Crusader states, right? Because what happened was as they were gaining more and more territory from these sieges, from these battles, they began to build back that state there that they once had, right? So, going back to the video here, all of these things are kind of collected together. So I just want to kind of take a look into a few minutes of this, just to kind of give you a little bit of a better perspective, or I guess a little bit better understanding, because I touched on quite a bit here. Um, and I kind of want to give you guys a better understanding from what happened really before, a little bit more of a breakdown than what I just told you guys, so that we kind of really understand if this was justified, if it wasn't justified. So we'll go from there, but we'll see what PAX 2 best to say.
600 AD, roughly 500 years before the First Crusade. This is a map of the Christian world at that time. All the highlighted areas show where Christianity had spread and become the majority religion.
See, yep, Syria. I don't know why I was saying those down here. Syria, Egypt, Alexandria, Jerusalem, Constantinople, obviously right here. Byzantine right here. Um, Britain, obviously. Armenia. And then, oh wow, even into the Mesopotamia. That's crazy. Well, after it's not actually Mesopotamia, because Mesopotamia is long gone by now. But yeah, it's interesting.
Wait a minute, is that the Middle East and North Africa?
Yep.
Yes, it is. These two areas used to be Christian. People today think of these as Muslim lands, but that was not always the case. It all began when Christianity spread far and wide after being legalized by...
Dude, Spain is very, very, very old. It's very, very old. I believe, I think it's just a little bit younger than France, because France came right after the fall of Rome. Let's see. It just wasn't known as France. Let's see. What was France known as before France? Ah, yeah, Gaul. Okay. Gaul to the Romans. Okay, so a Celtic territory conquered by Caesar. Later, after Germanic tribes, it was called Francia. Okay. Evolving from West Francia into the Kingdom of France, especially under Clovis the First. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. But I did know that it was something before France, and I do know that it was quite some time before France was actually a thing. So, but it was known as Gaul. To the Romans. Okay, so this was before Rome fell, or maybe around the same time. Um, that's good, man. That's good. Always study. Always study. It's good to stay sharp. Um, Actually, studies have shown that the more exercise you put your brain through, right, the more the less chances you have of developing Alzheimer's. Okay. Uh, Obviously, I don't know if that's a guarantee, right? Because it is a disease. However, that's just something that I wanted to bring up to you guys. And that's why I always try to stay sharp. I always try to learn something new every single day. So be sure you're learning something new every day. So you have all of these different territories here. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
by Emperor Constantine the Great with the Edict of Milan. This led to the Christianization of both the Western and Eastern Roman Empire. Even as the western part of the empire fell to barbarians, Christianity remained, and most of the barbarians also converted. So if that happened in
Yeah, so a lot of the Norse had actually converted to Christianity. Because they expanded that far, right? Because after the fall of Rome, people just kind of broke up into different things, right? And then later on came the Byzantine Empire. So there were obviously going to be more pastoral peoples around, that area, and more up into the northwestern um, continent. But and that's typically, if I remember correctly, that's typically where you found the people or the Norse people, and a lot of them were. I mean, I do believe they were Germanic, right? So a lot of them were actually converted to Christianity, which was interesting. I didn't know that before. So, what did you see yesterday?
Europe, what happened in the Middle East and North Africa? In the mid 600s, Arab warlords sprang out of the Arabian Peninsula and began conquering everything in their path. They brought with them their own religion, Islam, and unlike European barbarians, they did not convert to Christianity. The Middle East at the time was dominated by two superpowers, the Christian Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire, and the Zoroastrian Sassanid Empire. Unfortunately for them both, they had just fought each other in a gigantic war lasting 25 years and had drained themselves of key resources. Because of this, neither was prepared for.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's interesting. Um, Someone had an anti-Christian shirt. Well, I mean, it is their right. I do not subscribe to Christianity. I don't really subscribe to religion at all. But if you want to wear a cross on your shirt, that's completely up to you. If you want to wear an anti-Christian shirt, if you want to wear an anti-Judaism or anti-Islamic, shirt, whatever, that is your right, to do as an American. Um, just make sure that you're not surprised when someone gets upset about it. Because a lot of people get upset at words today. So um, but the thing is that there's a really heavy sentiment to push anti-Christian stuff, especially in the turn of this century, right? That we've been going through, or that we've had the oh so great privilege to live in, right? But yeah, so you're probably going to be seeing a lot of that. I mean, a lot of that. If you already haven't seen a lot of that, you're probably going to see quite a bit of that actually. With how captured the churches are here in America. Well, I mean, how captured the churches are in general, but how captured the churches are here in America, especially. Because what they're going to do is they're going to start attacking other Christians, right, for asking questions against certain people, right? And they're absolutely going to be attacked. I had, I've been seeing a number of pastors, Rob McCoy being one of them, absolutely shilling for a certain country, right? Now, what do you think that's going to look like when the vast majority of people who are church-going people finally realize what's actually going on? Well, then there's already a bunch of anti-Christian stuff too, with all the churches that are being bombed in Israel right now, right? So, there's a lot of things that are happening. There's a lot of things that have been happening, and unfortunately, because of how we are as a species, that's never going to stop, right? Because religion is always the center point when it comes to our way of life. because religion essentially has its hand in everything, right? Because you don't have politics without religion. You don't have religion without politics, okay? They're interchangeable, right? That's why you can never really separate church and state, because the state is dependent on, what? Morality, law, right? So it has to come from somewhere, right? And that's typically religion. So just something to think about there. But yeah, just if you are Christian yourself, just remember, okay? Remember, words are just words, okay? Now, if the shirt says, um, okay, then my religion, personal religion, is weird. What? Your religion, your personal religion is weird. I'm confused. What do you mean? What do you mean your personal religion? Is that like a religion you yourself have and only you? Is that what you mean? Um. Oh, okay. So wouldn't that be paganism? Yeah, wouldn't that just be paganism if you just worship whatever, you know? Because Norse, that's paganism. Then you have well, okay, I don't blame you for worshiping Godzilla. I don't blame you for worshiping Godzilla at all, man. I don't blame you for that. I really don't. I really don't. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all. Don't feel bad at all, okay? I would worship Godzilla too if Godzilla actually existed. Well, he does actually exist. He exists here. Right here in my heart, in my very soul. All right. Let's get back to this. Okay, so um what I had forgotten about was this battle between the Sasanian and the Byzantine. I forgot about that. So that's interesting. Which would make it super easy to fight a war against the Byzantine, with the Turks, right? If he comes to Earth in some way, shape, or form, we are cooked. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, bro, absolutely. Especially what 2017 Godzilla. No, it wasn't 2017. I think it was what 2018, 2019 Godzilla or something like that. 2023 Godzilla, whatever. The new Godzilla, the dope Godzilla. Well, I mean, you got to give respect to the old Godzilla too, right? The 1960s Godzilla, that was pretty dope too. But the new Godzilla that doesn't have the recognizable voice anymore. That kind of sucks. Anyways, we're getting too much off topic here. Yeah, but I completely forgot about the Sasanian, the Byzantine Sasanian War. That's interesting.
For the invasions that hit them. The Byzantines lost all of Africa and the Levant, while the
Right.
Sassanid
Yeah.
Empire collapsed completely. The most important loss for the Christian world, though, was the loss of the Holy Land. By 900 AD,
Right.
Islam had expanded, by conquest, all the way to France and southern Italy.
Yeah. So yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Look at all of these different wars here. Okay. Look at all of this. That has to be pretty close to 100 there. Yeah. See, 920 940 AD. Um. Let's see. Death of Muhammad. 632, and then for quite some time after that, quite some time, because the first crusade didn't start until 1095, right? um yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think, um oh, yeah, Iran was there. Yeah, Iran was there at a time. Yes, yes, or at that time, I do believe so. Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to moralize about this. Conquest and wars of expansion have been.
Well, actually, let's fact check ourselves real quick. Um, was the founding of Iran 625? Persian Empire established by Cyprus the Great. Okay, Cyprus the Great. All right, so including the. Okay, so let's see. Was Iran a. Because this would be pretty crazy to find out. Um, Never officially. Okay. Never officially a Christian nation. All right. Where's the map of modern times? So no, I mean Iran was founded 625 AD, right? Let's see. Yes, one of the religions of Iran before Islam was Christianity. Okay. But was it the main one? Although it has been a minority religion, Christians probably make up about 1%. Well, let's read here. Go away. Christianity has long. Okay, we just read that. Christians probably make up only about 1% of the country's current population. Well, yeah, but we don't want to know what the current population was. We want to know what the. Um, that's interesting. Well, let's ask it a very specific question. At its founding. There we go. No, ancient and classical Iran, Persia was never predominantly Christian. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. Right? Because it said Persia was a part of Christendom. Okay? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Was it pagan before? Right? I mean, but that I mean Christianity is paganism anyway. So, um let's go let's take a look back at the map here. Um Okay, here we go. Okay, so what? Where would uh Okay, so Iran. Okay, so Persia is right there. So then okay, so that's pretty yeah, I mean that's not too far from that. So perhaps not. Perhaps not. But I do believe it. Let's see. Um Antioch, yeah, Constantinople. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, then he just kind of goes into where we're looking for a specific map here. Yeah, I don't believe that Iran wasn't originally Christian. I don't believe that. Actually, I think didn't we see something about yep. Yeah, it says Persia right here. In early Christendom, Persia was a major power that initially tolerated Christians, but became fiercely persecuting after Roman Empire Constantine's conversion, viewing Christians as Roman spies, leading to severe martyrdoms under Saphir the Second. Was a 10th Sassanian King of Kings. Oh, okay, interesting. All right. We're learning some new stuff here. Scroll down 2 videos and see a T-Rex with its neck and face torn apart, and is still alive. Oh, is that what you saw? Oh, I did happen to see a video not too long ago of some of the craziest injuries that dinosaurs
in the middle.
had sustained or had take oh on your page, okay, had taken, but they still lived through it. That was pretty interesting. That's kind of dope. So through all of this expansion, maybe I was wrong about um the Christian uh Persia being a part of Christendom. Maybe it was pagan before. Uh, so yeah, that's interesting. Is it from extinct? It might have been from extinct zoo. Might it might have been. Might have been. I'm not exactly sure. It's been quite some time since I looked into it. Okay, so um, the Crusades essentially started in 1095, and they continued for 200 years until the late part of the 13th century. Okay, and there are some notable uh, key or notable uh, excuse me, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know why I'm shorting right now. Notable figures. Okay, so you had um, Richard the Lionheart. Okay, you have Richard the Lionheart, which I believe had completely destroyed Saladin's army. Um, yes, yes, that's right. Yeah. Um, so I think if I remember correctly, Richard the Lionheart's, um, and Philip the Second's forces were very heavily outnumbered against Saladin's forces, if I remember correctly. And they had still won. The Battle of Arsuf. Do I have? I know I have it here. Um, there we go. Fought on September 7th, 1191. A significant encounter during the Third Crusade, which aimed the capture or recapture Jerusalem from Muslim forces. Okay, yeah. So there was a that's something that I forgot about to mention, or that I forgot to mention too. There was a massive back and forth. That's why they call it the Crusades, because there was a massive back and forth between the conflicts, obviously, of the Christians and the Muslims. So led by Richard the First of England, the Crusaders faced the army of Sultan Saladin, which greatly outnumbered them. Yes, Richard's tactical approach demonstrated a careful arrangement of his 25,000 troops with cavalry positioned strategically to withstand the harassment of Saladin's horse archers. Excuse me. When the moment was right, Richard ordered a powerful cavalry charge that caught the enemy off guard, leading to a decisive victory for the Crusaders. Okay, Saladin's forces suffered heavy casualties, with over 7,000 soldiers lost. Wow. While the Crusaders experienced around 700. Those are good numbers. That's a good KD ratio, bro. That's a damn good KD ratio. The battle was noted for its effective coordination of infantry and cavalry tactics. Right. Okay. Well, I don't want a a fanboy breakdown. I just kind of want to understand what happened, and that's pretty much what happened. So, um, I think that's one of the biggest one of the biggest things when it comes to, or one of the biggest key moments in the Crusades, because I think after that, um, they they were able to gain quite a bit more control. Um, let's see, France captured. Okay, uh, possibly not. But I do know, I do know the ending of the Crusades uh, did not go very well. So maybe I'm wrong there. Um, we had a war simulation in one of my classes in high school. It was pretty fun. Oh, really? That's pretty interesting. How did that go? Did you guys use nuclear weapons? Oh, did you? Oh, that's good. It's always better to be the winner, right? so, um, but yeah, so they eventually recaptured Jerusalem. You know, going back and forth. Um, oh, well, I bet it was pretty dope. So let's see. Um, okay, let's see what it says here at the end.
From Europe. Despite all of this, some people say the Crusades failed. But did they? Europe was Christian when the Crusades were launched, and it's still majority Christian today, 1,000 years later, although it is secularizing due to modernist ideologies. Ironically, it's only after the Pope lost his power to call Crusades that Christianity started to decline in Europe. But when we look back at these events, history shows it's not a shameful chapter of Catholic history, but the total opposite. The Christian world defended itself and spread the faith abroad after hundreds and hundreds of years of abuse. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the Crusades were awesome indeed. This has been Pax, and thank you so much for watching. If you
Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's see what some of the comments say. This video would get you arrested in England in 2025. Yeah, that's exactly true. It is, unfortunately. France, Germany, and England getting along. Yeah. Let's see. Then the Christians attacked for no reason at all. We were taught. Yeah. Well, we were taught exactly. Yeah, that's exactly why I'm doing this live with you guys here. But this is actually what happened. Okay, I'm not some history buff that understands every single thing, and I'm sure I probably have quite a bit wrong here that I've gotten in this live. You know, I don't know everything. I'm not going to claim to know everything. I never will. But there is one thing that I do know for sure, from essentially the beginning of Islam. It's always been war, looting, because let me see here, because I'm gonna try and pull up a some scripture here from let's see, from the Quran. Let's see, from the Hadith.
would like to see more videos, please
Oh,
consider supporting the channel. Also, leave a comment.
well, hey, bro, you can't type if you're not using the search bar. Interesting how that works. All right, the Hadith, Sahih Bukhari. Am I? No. Okay. H. Okay. Bukhari, volume 4, chapter 88, page 108. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, okay. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. All right. Oh, it's bringing me to X. Interesting. Okay, so so it says on my livelihood is under the shade of my spear. Okay. Um that means what he gets from war. Okay. Um okay, well, so okay, all right. Well, let's okay. And he who disobeys my orders will be humiliated by paying jizya. Okay, so that continues well after Muhammad's death. Okay, and unfortunately, it led to the expansion and unfortunately a massive loss of life to the point to where there was such a response by the Christians. So this is something that is never really talked about when we were going to school, and it's something that definitely wasn't talked about when I was in college, right? So I had to go and find these things out. I had to go and research them. So don't think exactly we're going to get into all of the, ins and outs of a lot of the battles, sieges, but I could definitely take a little bit more look into it if you guys want a little bit more in depth kind of conversation there. But I really kind of wanted to know what you guys thought about this. Did you guys learn anything? If you did, that's awesome. Hopefully, I can uh, help you guys out there. Um, but yeah, I figured that was kind of cool to talk about a little bit of history. So, especially with stuff that really matters today, as more and more Christians are being attacked, right? Um, Especially just because they're Christian, so which again, it is history. Okay, all right. Um, People have been very cruel to one another since we became, or since we became a species. Okay, people have been mean to one another. People have been, sexist, racist, bigoted in any kind of way. Um, it's not excusing, this here. Which I mean, obviously, you're gonna defend yourself, right? But it's just one of those things that happens, and it's just like today, right? Where we see the same thing, Muslim aggression, and then we also see, well, I wouldn't necessarily say Jewish aggression with Israel, but I mean, it's just thugs being thugs, man. It is what it is. Um, and that's anyone and everyone today. It's not just Jews. It's not just Muslims, Christians. It's just people, you know, because it's all culture at the end of the day, right? What is religion? Culture. Okay. Um, what is law? Culture. Culture is everything. So, this is something that will never go away at all. We will continue to see wars over religion, unfortunately. But, you know, as long as humanity is still around, we're going to continue to see wars because we're just like any other animal, right? There are a few things that we absolutely cannot live without, and that's resources, control, or excuse me, resources and uh, mates, right? So, um, so yeah. Anyways, I figured this was going to be a little bit of a shorter live stream, and so actually, before we end that, I kind of want to get a little bit into how the Crusades ended. Um, Before I hop off here. Oops. I have no idea what I was typing there. Uh, it's hard to type around this mic here. All right. Let's see. But oh,
Crusading was one of medieval Europe's favourite pastimes. It wouldn't take much for a pope to issue a call to crusade, and soon kings, princes and lords would be marching an army to either retake the Holy Land or generally just make life difficult for the Islamic powers on the other side of the Mediterranean. Yet, as you'll know, one day the Crusades stopped. But why? Why did the era of crusading come to an end? Now, when most people discuss crusading, it's often in reference to those in the Middle East. But it's important to remember that there were several against pagans in Northern and Eastern Europe. Furthermore, there were those in the Iberian Peninsula and also ones which were directed against the heretical movements throughout Europe in the 13th, 14th and 15th centuries. Those in the Iberian Peninsula stopped because simply the Christians won and all of the Muslim states there were extinguished by 1492. For the Crusades in the Middle East, those came to an end in the late 13th century for several more complicated reasons. The first was that the Crusaders kept losing, and you can only keep trying the same thing so many times before it just seems silly. Another reason was that the primary region of the Crusades had now moved to North Africa, and much of their focus was on trade and piracy. They were now much smaller in scale and were primarily done in a kingdom's interest, not for religious zeal. Furthermore, many were now undertaken without the consent of the Pope, which leads into one of the main reasons that these formal crusades came to an end. The papacy's power began to decline and everyone started to ignore them. This was due to several factors. First, there were numerous schisms and as such numerous popes who had different rulers acknowledge them. This meant that crusading became much more risky, since previously going on a crusade meant that the Pope would excommunicate anyone who invaded you during that time. And if you rejected the Pope who sanctioned the crusade, you could just wait until your rival's army left for the Holy Land and in you went. The second reason for the papacy's decline was the Protestant Reformation, which meant that many places were now permanently out of the Pope's sphere of influence, and many of those who remained were now dealing with internal religious conflict. So did this mean the end of formal crusading?
I do remember that Crusades were actually persecuted. They were absolutely persecuted. This is a secular conquest. Might just be my... Okay. Let's see. The Pope was so sad because his power declined. Last Crusade was in 1938 when Indiana Jones... Oh, shit. Faster than the speed of a dying snail in the backyard. That's funny. Okay, yeah, so that's probably why I'm not gonna say probably. Um so perhaps I mean you could say either they failed or they didn't. What I would say is that there was definitely an intense back and forth. Ultimately, I think probably it may have ended in more of a draw than anything else. Um, I guess if we're looking at history in terms of winning and losing, that's what I would say. Because they still maintained Spain. Well, I mean Europe. They still maintained Europe as majority Christian. So the only thing that was different was well, I mean even um uh Jerusalem was under British control before it was turned over. I would definitely say that it was under both Palestinian and British control before it became Israel. So um, I think that's something to note there. But definitely lost Armenia and Egypt and all of those places, of course, because later that became the barbarian pirates or the barbarian states, right? But these were states that were these were pirate states. And a little bit of some more history, actually. The first war that America had gotten into after the Revolutionary War, of course. I believe it was in the early 1800s, um, or maybe it was the late 1700s. Let's see. Barbary Wars. You don't hear about this. You don't hear about this. Okay, yeah, that's right. 1803 to 1805, and the second one was a little bit later than that. I think it was '06, '07, something like that. Oh no, I'm sorry. 1815. What was I thinking was in '06 or '07? I can't remember. But so what essentially happened was we had merchant ships, and this was before the creation of the Navy, right, officially. So we had merchant ships that would do trading in the Mediterranean, and the Barbary states were majority pirate states. Okay, these were the Barbary uh, people. and they were majority Muslim. And so what they would do is they would make incredible demands, right? Monetary, of course, uh, for a safe passage. Okay. Well, it became increasingly difficult for that to happen and to do trade because what they would do is they would also raid ships if they didn't pay, this demand, right? So what they did was they were burning down they were burning down merchant ships from the UK, and then it turned to the US. Okay, now the creation of the Navy began around this time because the creation of the Navy was response to the barbary aggression. So that's exactly what happened. I can't remember exactly who created the Navy. Let's see. Um, I want to say it was the president after after Jefferson. Um, let's see. For his leadership as naval hero. Okay, so urging of John Adams, who became its primary founder. Um, Interesting. Well, the Navy wasn't actually the Navy around this time. They didn't if I remember correctly they didn't have the funds to actually pay for an actual Navy, so they contracted people to fight Britain at the time. That's what I remember. Um, see, I remember Nick from Fat Electrician talking about this. Let's see. Yeah, John Paul Jones. Oh, it might have been John Paul Jones. Anyways, there was a the Navy was the very reason, or I'm sorry, pirates was the very reason that the Navy was founded. Very reason the Navy was founded, and they responded to the barbary states and absolutely went to obliterate these guys. So they did, um, and peace was restored. So, but that's a little cool. Yes, the man who created the U.S. Navy, John Paul Jones. That's right. Okay. So, uh, it's interesting. I thought that was pretty cool. So we learned quite a bit of history today, guys. Quite a bit of history today. So again, I'm no expert by any means, just because there's so much to look into, so much to look into. If I happen to come across some more information where I have to correct myself, obviously I'll be doing that. So, but I've never claimed to be, a whiz kid when it comes to understanding all this history stuff. I never will. But what I do know, I'll absolutely share with you guys. So, anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up there. I think we're just about an hour in. So, appreciate you stopping by. Nick, or Nico, I'm sorry. Thanks so much, man, for stopping by. I appreciate you. Hopefully I was able to teach you something today. If you want me to take a look into anything, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to take a look at, any recommendations you have for me. And then I'll definitely talk about it for sure. But that's going to go ahead and wrap things up tonight. thanks again for watching, guys. If you need me, please reach out. I love you all. I will talk with you guys soon. Oh, and join me tomorrow for some more Ark. Okay, we're gonna be trying. We're gonna try and get ready for a cave. So let's hope that doesn't go bad this time. So love to see you there, guys. Tomorrow. Thanks so much. You guys have a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys.